You know a product is bad when I have to give praise to Bixby. Spotify's car thing is absolutely one of the worst products that I have ever reviewed. The build quality, the way that it's used, the way that it's thought out. I have never reviewed such a piece of trash. Calling it a piece of trash is even too high of a comment. And the way to best summarize this is that it's essentially a remote control for your phone. This device connects to your phone, which then connects to your car's stereo system. Instead of it being your phone connects to this device, which then connects to your car's stereo system. I had to have more wires than ever externally on my dashboard. Also, take this into consideration. It's not Spotify's problem. It's more like you really need to think about your car's dashboard before you bring this in. Sometimes the air vents aren't going to support even this small and lightweight device. It's just going to fall to the side. So that's why I personally went with the CD tray. If you don't have a CD tray, then you might not be able to purchase this. The device is very plasticky. It has 4 buttons on the top for your presets, a power button, a scroll wheel so that you can interact with the user interface, a back button, and USB-C to charge it. And Spotify is actually pretty nice that they include a lot of these car accessories so you don't have to go out there and purchase them. You're not gonna leave this device out in plain sight in a neighborhood, right? You're always gonna wanna take it off. But the way that the power adapter is kind of put at an angle, you're always yanking it off. It gets pretty freaking annoying every time you take it off and need to place it and hide it somewhere. When you get it into your car, you have to set this up, then you have to plug in your phone. There's also the glossy factor. I'm pretty sure you can see it. I think they should have gone with a matte finish because when you're outside driving in the sun, it's just very hard to look at the screen since it's always glossy depending on the angle, right? And you're always going to be trying to touch this. The magnet is actually pretty strong, but even then it slides around from left to right. The wheel is pretty nice and you will be heavily dependent on it. And the back button. The screen is absolutely awful. Whenever I interact with the screen going back and forth, there's just a very distinct lag, like 1 to 2 seconds from when I touch it to when I scroll, when I touch it and when I scroll. When you're driving, you don't want to be distracted, right? You're driving a 2-ton vehicle. So you have to really interact with the wheel pretty often, even in clicking and choosing songs. While the presets are nice depending on the type of playlist that you have or whatever podcast that you're listening to, I personally didn't use them because I would just touch whatever was on there, like my on repeat or my currently listening to. I don't know how long this video is. All I know is that I haven't even gone to the software experience, which is unbelievably awful. I think at this point we all expect for pickup to be pretty decent, right? So if I'm playing something on my phone and I go over to my desktop, it's already ready at the same spot. Spotify has a tendency to do a really bad job at this, more on the podcast side. Whenever I go onto Spotify's card thing, the podcast that I'm listening to is not at the same spot, nor do podcasts show up sometimes. It just kind of like forgets for some reason, like it has amnesia. The next example of poor user experience is whenever I choose an album, I expect it to immediately play. Instead, Spotify moves me to the list track and then makes me choose, which just seems kind of unnecessary. What I found most interesting though was that Spotify had a voice assistant. I personally had never heard of it. And you know a product is bad when I have to give praise to Bixby because Bixby is a much better assistant than Spotify's AI could ever hope to be. I guess this also has to do with the fact that so many songs have the same name. I mean, just look at the plethora of songs that are written about a crush, like Delilah. I'm pretty sure there's 10 songs called Delilah by different artists. I say like, hey Spotify, find the Joe Rogan Experience. Play the Joe Rogan Experience. Ryan Holiday.
Okay, the Joe Rogan Experience.
I don't think it knows the difference between a song and a podcast. This also happened with a variety of artists. Like you say, play the song, and you have to say the artist, but even then it gets it confused. I guess it's all one word to them instead of multiple sentences. You're still going to be interacting with the phone, like regardless of what you do. And with the hardware being so laggy. The best thing about the device is honestly the wheel. This is a freaking solid, nice, smooth, clickety-clackety wheel. That's all it really has going for it. Although I personally thought that this device would be amazing for older vehicles, I personally don't think so, because you're just adding a bunch of unnecessary wiring, a bunch of unnecessary setup time. It really sucks that I have to give such a poor review to a product that a lot of people probably worked on. Unfortunately, it's just a remote control and it relies very heavily on your phone. The only thing that this device should rely on is the cellular data, right? I believe they should transform this into a storage device, right? Like, it has your playlist. You can download songs onto it. Instead of my phone needing to be connected to the aux cable, this has a dedicated port and the music plays off of this. But Spotify tends to have a lot of user interaction problems in general. I've talked about this in a previous video, and it just proves that if you have a buttload of money in your bank account, doesn't mean that you can make a really great product. Even the dumpster is too nice for this device to be thrown in. I think we should just burn this thing right now. Just playing. Let me know your thoughts down below. Were you looking at purchasing one of these, or what are your initial thoughts and impression as an owner? I would love for you to interact with me on Twitter, as I'm always on there, and I'm also on Vero True Social, so make sure to check me out on there. At the end of the day, I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Isaac Mihangos, and I'll catch you in the next one.